You ask a Japanese colleague, "Can we launch on Friday?" They pause and say, "That may be difficult." You hear, "Friday is still possible." They may be signaling, "There is a serious problem," or even, "Please do not plan on Friday." Then a potential client says, "We'll consider it." You keep the opportunity in your forecast. 2 weeks pass, no decision arrives. The tempting lesson is that certain Japanese phrases secretly mean no. That lesson is simple, memorable, and often wrong. The safer lesson is this: when an answer sounds positive but contains no clear commitment, do not translate the phrase. Clarify what happens next. Research on refusal language gives us a reason to be careful. Refusing a request can threaten a working relationship, so speakers in many languages soften the message. A study comparing Japanese and New Zealand participants found that both groups used "I'll think about it" literally and as an ambiguous refusal. Japanese speakers were not always the more indirect group. Status and situation changed how people responded. Other research on Japanese refusal expressions shows that phrases built around possibility, such as "it may be difficult," can soften a refusal. But the form varies, and the phrase alone does not tell you everything. So this is not a dictionary. It is a decision test. When you hear, "That may be difficult," "We'll consider it," or another soft answer, check 3 things: the constraint, the commitment, and the clock. First, the constraint. What exactly is making the request difficult? Imagine you ask for a Friday launch. That may be difficult could mean the legal review is incomplete. It could mean another department has not agreed. It could mean the deadline is unrealistic. Or it could be a polite way to close the request without creating an argument. Do not immediately push for a yes or no. Ask for the obstacle. Try, "What is the biggest constraint we would need to solve?" Or, "What would need to change for Friday to become workable?" Those questions create 2 useful outcomes. If the obstacle is real and solvable, you can work on it. If no workable condition appears, you have stronger evidence that the answer is effectively no. Second, the commitment. Positive words are not the same as a committed action. "We'll consider it" may describe a genuine internal review. The person speaking may not have authority to decide alone. They may need to consult a manager, procurement, legal, or several stakeholders. In that case, consideration is real, but it is not approval. Ask, "Who else needs to review this before a decision?" Then ask, "What would be the next step if the team wants to move forward?" Listen for an owner, an action, or a condition. "I'll send this to legal today" is a commitment. "Our director will review the revised proposal" is a commitment. "We'll think about it" with no owner and no action is only acknowledgement. Third, the clock. If a decision matters to your project, the next checkpoint needs a date. JETRO's practical guidance for international business communication makes a useful distinction. General responses can signal non-concurrence, while a response with a specific next step or time is more positive. So ask, "When would be a useful time to reconnect?" Or, "Would Tuesday be too early for an update?" A real review can still take time. The goal is not to force speed. The goal is to know whether a process exists. Now put the 3 together. Constraint, what is blocking the decision? Commitment, who will do what next? Clock, when will you check again? That framework works because it converts an ambiguous phrase into observable information. Here is the wrong way to use it. You hear, "That may be difficult," and reply, "So you mean no?" That can corner the other person, erase a genuine constraint, and make you sound more interested in decoding Japan than solving the problem. Here is a better response. Understood. What is the biggest concern? If Friday is unrealistic, what timing would be workable? You acknowledge the signal, invite detail, and make room for an alternative. Now consider, will consider it. The wrong response is to treat polite acknowledgement as a likely sale. The better response is, thank you. Who will be involved in the review and when would it be useful for me to follow up? If they name the reviewers, request more information, or propose a date, the process may be active. If every answer stays general, your forecast should stay cautious. There are also 3 pieces of context that no phrasebook can replace. 1. Decision authority. A person may be interested and still be unable to commit. 2. Relationship and setting. People may speak more directly in a trusted one-on-one conversation than in a formal meeting. 3. Behavior after the conversation. Requests for data, scheduled follow-ups, introductions, and revised proposals tell you more than a positive adjective. This responsibility goes both ways. Americans working with Japan should avoid demanding bluntness as proof of honesty. Japanese teams working internationally can reduce confusion by naming the owner, next step, and timing more explicitly. Japan's Agency for Cultural Affairs makes a similar point about communication across language backgrounds. When familiar euphemisms may confuse the listener, rephrase, explain, and confirm understanding. The goal is not for one side to imitate the other. The goal is to build enough shared context that nobody has to guess. So the next time you hear "that may be difficult" or "will consider it," don't rush to label it yes or no. Ask for the constraint, ask for the commitment, ask for the clock. The phrase is only the signal. What happens next is the answer.